Yeah. In other words, we think investing is what Warren Buffett says investing is, which is when you buy a $10 bill for $5, you're investing. You're certain to make money. That's investing. That we really like. That's investing, right? When you lend someone who's very likely to pay you back and make 5% interest, you're investing.
Yes.
That's it.
It's the level of certainty.
It's the level of certainty.
And I think also being able to then follow the facts and change if you need to, if that certainty changes.
Absolutely right.
Whereas to contrast to speculating where you don't have any facts to rely on in the first place because you're just going by what the price was and what it might be in the future.
And by the way, one of the things that is a wonderful marker for whether you're investing or speculating is if the investment goes down. In other words, you bought it at $10 and now it's at $4. Are you excited to buy more or are you scared that you made a mistake? And if you're scared, you are a speculator. That's just straight up the truth of it. So if you're in the stock market and it goes down 50% and you're sitting there afraid and don't know what to do, then even if they want to call it investing, you're not investing. You're just speculating and hoping this thing goes up, something you don't understand, something you have no idea what you own. You're just hoping. And so that's not investing. And what investing should be is a really low risk, really comfortable, really fun endeavor where you have done your work. And at the end of the day, if you can buy more of this thing as the price goes down, you're extremely excited that you can do so because it's the lower the price goes, the better your overall return is going to be. That's great investing. That's what we want to do. That's what we're teaching here. And that's what I hope, we're even learning as we go ourselves because often, the devil's in the details, as Danielle has.
That's right.
Before.
And I will say that I don't always feel so amazing when the price goes down. And that's okay too.
Time to do a little more work.
Well,
but no,
it's
human.
I think it's human and natural that there's always a sense. Somebody asked me recently on one of my newsletter group calls how to deal with it when the price goes down and you just sort of freak out a little bit. It's just sort of how do you know? I think the question was how do you know when you're done? How can you really be sure that you've done all the work? And of course, we can never be sure that we've done all the work. You can think that and you can look a lot and have a sense that you've accomplished all the reading that you can accomplish. And still, there can be information out there that did not come across the radar. And that's, so I guess it's difficult to have that level of certainty. And at the same time, I think investing practice is about finding a level where you're comfortable in certainty, in whatever that is, 98% certainty. And then as new info comes along, being able to incorporate that into your thinking. I think Charlie Munger said something like one of the greatest markers of an intelligent person is being able to not only accept differing viewpoints, but to turn around and appreciate them. And that's a terrible paraphrase, but he said something along those lines. And
Charlie took great glee in destroying something that he really
That's what it was. That's what it was. It's being able to destroy one's best loved ideas is his favorite thing to do. That's essentially what he said. And I think that's part of it is as that new information comes in, as you start to feel that doubt, as you start to wonder, being able to take the joy actually in that, even as you're panicking, but being able to have both sides of it, kind of the small self and the big self, and being able to find the joy at the same time of going oh, how incredible to either discover that I was still right all along, even with this new information, or maybe change things.
Guy Kawasaki is a favorite of mine. He was one of the key guys at Apple in the early days and as a evangelist for Apple, if you remember. And a guy wrote or was talking on CNBC once, and I was watching him. He said, one of the most important lessons that I learned from Steve Jobs is that changing your mind, changing what you're doing, reversing yourself at an extreme is actually a sign of intelligence.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Totally right. So we
and
do
yet
want
so
to
many people do not. I'm reminded of the great accusation of being a flip-flopper in one of the presidential elections recently. It's like, God, being a flip-flopper is actually a mark of great intellectual trustworthiness. So
yeah, I mean, you've got to be able to grow and change your mind, and at the extreme, you've got to be able to do it.
Yeah,
and get it right. It doesn't mean you're right; it just means you're willing to open your mind up. And I think that's super, super critical for an investor. We talked about creating a story about investing, right? This rules story, which you're going to review on a quarterly basis or at least an annual basis. You're going to be looking for changes in the story because the world is a I don't know, the world's a scary place and things can happen. Most companies don't make it 100 years, right?
True.
So you always want to be sure you're not sitting there with a harness company about the time they're going to invent the automobile, right? And you're not deeply invested in a typewriter company as the computer comes out. And the beauty, of course, if you're paying attention, is that these changes that are dramatic like that, just an entire industry is changing, are very slow. I mean, they're rolling out over years, not months, and certainly not weeks. So if you're paying any attention, you're going to pick it up and you're going to make your changes. And that's why we buy with a margin of safety, because we want to be sure if something big changes, we're gonna come out of it all right. And the other thing is that we have some tricks that help us keep our act together when the stock price is dropping. Our act being, hey, we've got this, I'm under control. I'm not going to get emotional about it. I'm really excited. Actually, the price is dropping. And one of the most important tricks is to own businesses that have no debt. That is just gigantically important way to preserve your emotions. I mean, when I've owned Chipotle multiple times, and when the stock price goes down, it has a little debt now, but in the old days, it never had debt. And it's just this comfort to know that as long as this company is producing free cash flow and has no debt, it can get a lot smaller, but it's not going away. And then the second thing that preserves our emotions is in the process of understanding the business, we learn about its moat, that protective barrier against competition, which allows it to overcome these changes in the world, E. coli poisoning or a bad CEO who does, new Coke or whatever, right? IBM's right now dealing with, a CEO that hasn't been able to figure out how to make the transition to this new world successfully, even while a better CEO at Microsoft made the transition and Microsoft exploded. IBM has gone nowhere. You guys, if you enjoyed this video and you feel it was valuable in teaching you more about how to invest, hit the like button and please share the video with your friends. And if you want more investing content, subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to click the button on the screen. We got a free gift for you. Thanks again for watching.